Thank you for listening to the 39th Street Church of Christ Daily Devotional. The devotional today is Are You Aggravating the Right Thing? By Jack Williams. You look at the title of this lesson and you think, what does aggravate mean? Well, if you knew the two little kids back here, these two on your screen here, you think about how much they've loved each other through the years and how they've always gotten along, and that's not really so. Whenever Mary was little, she used to look at her brother who had a tendency to kind of torture her at times. And she'd say, Bubba, quit aggravating yourself. Well, aggravate was her way of saying aggravate. And that simply means just to kind of torture somebody, to go at somebody, to just prompt them just persistently. And I think about that, and I think about how that was just kind of a playful thing he did. And didn't amount to much. They are probably the best of friends now. But you realize that life is that way. There are things in the Lord's church. We're told in Matthew, the 5th chapter, that we're going to be persecuted. Blessed are you when men persecute you. The Apostle Paul in the Philippian letter in chapter 3 and verse 6 even spoke about the fact that he did that to the church. He persecuted the church. And that meant he went relentlessly after it. That's what the word means, just to pursue after it. And you find that he did that. I mean, in Acts, the 7th chapter, he was standing there as Stephen was stoned to death. In Acts, the 8th chapter, he persecuted the church. He went into men and women's houses and he cast them into prison. You find over and over how he did that. You know, I can't help but wonder, whenever the Apostle Paul wrote that in Philippians, the 3rd chapter and verse 6, and then down in verse 14, after saying, I count myself not to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting the things that are behind, I reach forth unto those things which are before. And then notice what he says next. He says, I press towards the prize for the mark of the prize, the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. You realize that word press and the word persecute back in verse 6 are from the same Greek word. You see, in one instance, he was pressing on. He was relentlessly pursuing. He was persecuting the church, doing bad. But then, after he became a child of God, his focus on what he pursued, what he pressed toward, changed drastically. Now, instead of destroying those things which were of Christ, he sought them with every bit of his being. I press towards the mark of the prize, the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. In our lives, we begin, whenever we come to that point in life when we know right or wrong, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. We come to the point in life whenever we make a decision, are we going to still pursue those things, press after, relentlessly follow the things of the world? Or are we going to press after the things of God? Well, with my little children, it was my precious little boy aggravating his sister, just relentlessly going after her, it seemed. Well, they grew up. They became wonderful Christians. In your life and my life, sometimes we do things that are very serious. We aggravate, we pursue, we relentlessly go after the things that are wrong. But then hopefully we grow up, we change. We become that child of God and we pursue. In the book of Acts, the 2nd chapter, it was called Continuing Steadfastly in the Apostles' Doctrine. What about you and I? What are we aggravating today? What are we pursuing? What are we pressing toward? I hope that we've grown up and we're looking for the things of God with all of our being, and we do it relentlessly. You have a good day. By the way, make sure you're aggravating the right thing.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this short devotional. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'll be notified of other devotionals that will be forthcoming. Also, we encourage you to join us online live as we stream our services at each service time. More information can be found on our website at the link below. Thank you.